batting
100% correct.
I'm batting so high above my average that I have to just check every now and then and make sure I haven't messed it up.
That is correct.
Now, most of us would know what statistics are.
Yeah.
But I bet you that most people would not know what econometrics, the theory and application, and financial econometrics. Could you take a brief moment to explain what those are to laymen?
Mainly, econometrics is actually the quantitative side of economics. So we have economics theories, and actually when you have real data, you want to kind of estimate or measure the effect of policies. And econometrics is the field that is actually developing that statistical tools to measure economic theories and to test economic theories. So that is more what we do. So we can go from more applied economics to financial economics or financial econometrics too. Yeah.
Put in one of its most simple terms, econometrics is all about the economy. It's all about money. Is that roughly right?
Well, it is not roughly only about economics. It could be any field, even in sciences. They are using some tools from econometrics theory to estimate when COVID came. So they use econometrics to test the COVID vaccines, for example. That is more because in econometrics, like we try to help economists quantify the causal effect of policies, and that is where actually the cause and the effect is coming into the play. So,
do you know how I know that you're intelligent? You explain that in a way I could understand. One of my very best friends in the whole world, we ended up buying a house from him, and he now teaches at Harvard, and he was able to explain his neuroscience study and research in a way that dumb people like myself could actually get it. So that, I think, is one of the biggest measures of intelligence.
Yeah, like if you look at like what I'm saying, like in plain words, we are immersed in cause and effect.
Yes.
So, for example, whenever we consider potential downstream effect of our decisions, so whether consciously or otherwise, we are thinking about cause. So now, if you look at, for example, we can say, we are imagining the world, what the world would be under X or Y.
Right.
So if you want to quantify that, so that is cause and effect. So econometrics is stepping in to provide a way to actually say, okay, if you do X, that is what you should get. When you do Y, that is what you should get.
Couldn't have, that's the best explanation that I've ever heard. Okay, could I intrude on you to ask you to turn your seat a little bit? Well, originally when it was set up, see, this camera is seeing a profile.
Profile, yeah.
No, other way, if that's okay, sir.
Like that one.
Yes, and so I believe, whoa, now we can see your beautiful face.
Oh,
okay,
good.
handsome face, not beautiful. Okay, so let me go back to your bio, because I wanted to make sure that you know, the average person could understand what we're talking about and where we're going. You're currently working on various topics, including the identification of problems in structural models, model selection, and optimal inference on, in GMM setting. I'm stuck.
That is very, very complex in terms of wording. But I think we can try to frame it simple. So, like, I have a quotation from one professor I like. Her name is Janet Wing from Columbia University. She said, causality is the next frontier of intelligence, artificial, and machine learning.
Okay.
So, right. What she means is, for example, if I have something, I'm saying, it is essential, for example, to lower prices for a given business.
Yes.
Right. So, and then you ask me, what will be? Could the sales increase? So the question is, it can or not. So what you are quoting, the structural models, inference, that is what. So I'm actually going to say, David, okay, given your data set, if you increase sales, that will happen. Yeah. So, but it is complex sometimes, but that is the difficulty for identification of that.
I imagine that this would require advanced mathematics.
It will require advanced mathematics, but not that. There are some policies we can do. For example, there is one policy I can probably, those who are listening to me, I can give, for example. Suppose that you have your child at the daycare, right? So you pay, and you are late, right? And then we decide, okay, should we penalize you? Right. When we penalize you, should you actually decrease your lateness? So this is something we know. So the question is, no. And you know what we can do? We can gather data, and then we can design something we call intervention. So we can design that take two groups of people where we penalize them, and we see whether they will decrease their lateness. And we will have a second group where we don't at all put a penalty on them. And then we go through a certain period of time. We do the average lateness time for the first group where we put penalty, and the average lateness time for the second group where we put penalty. And we do the difference between the two groups. If we saw that the difference is negative, for example, it means that the lateness has actually decreased, because the group where you put penalty, they have slowed the lateness compared to the group where you don't put. So this is just average, like the take 1 plus 2 plus 3 over 3.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
The two groups, yeah.
You're also working on, according to this, Bootstrap and Monte Carlo methods, the treatment effect and network environments. Yeah. I hope I said that the right way.
Yeah, so but the Bootstrap simulate, that are more the technique, the simulations, because it is more statistical thing. But what people know is the average, for example. And I think even year 10, year 11 students, they do average. So you have a data row, so you just look at, and then you sum and you divide by the number of individuals you have inside. That is average. But there are complex situations where actually you don't give just, I can tell, oh, David, this is the average. For example, the average time for daycare is, say 2 hours. So because there are uncertainties around that average, so what we want is to quantify the sampling and uncertainty. And to do that, we need actually the errors, the margin of errors, like when we do pooling. So to be able to do that, when in the world where you don't know how the data has been produced, there are techniques in statistics. That is what we call Bootstrap, where I can actually resample and then being able to quantify the sampling uncertainty with some margin. Yeah. So it is more technical, but in Word, it is okay.
Awesome. You also work in forecasting, identification of macroeconomic shocks,
yes,
and the housing market.
True. So forecasting first. Forecasting daily, like, but I look at sales, like suppose that you have your business, right? So daily you know the sales, and then you want to do some policies. You want to anticipate at least the next month, right? So you have actually to say, okay, this is the expected sales I will have from next month. So you don't have data, so you are today. So you have to anticipate. That is what we call prediction forecasting. So, but when you do forecasting, you want to use the past, right? So you will use the past information you have from your data to forecast the future. So it is difficult because you need to do it nicely, such that tomorrow when you saw the realized value and you compare to the prediction I gave you yesterday, and then the difference is not that huge. So it means that my modeling is correct in giving you the correct forecasting. So that is, now housing market it is an interesting question. I have some students where we explore the housing market in Australia, starting from more the data analysis side, looking at the profile of borrower in the market, who is, adjustable rate, that is now a debate, fixed rate. Right. So I started there, and that is where I learned Australian housing market. So I was looking at the profile of borrowers. I look at and I saw that people like you, David, actually we never use from the past they were using more the fixed rate because they are stable in the state, they don't move. When young people like 20 years and 30 years and over, they are using adjustable rate because they move from state to state. And then I came to schooling side. My kids, when I came to Adelaide, I lived in a Burnside. Yeah. So, and you know why? Because I didn't have money to put my kid in the private school, and I was looking at the best public school. And then I rented a three-bedroom apartment in Burnside, and I was paying $500 a week just to get access to Burnside Primary School. So I started to look at my neighbor was on the wrong side of the school zone, and then his apartment was actually 450. So the difference, same building, same thing, the difference of prices was 50. So that is where I started to be interested in the effect of school zoning in housing price.
You're not the only one when it comes to suburb hunting, house hunting, so that your child can go to the right school.
Right school, like Glenonga, for example, Glenonga High. Yeah.
Yes.
So if you are Marriotttville side and somebody is Glenonga side, so you look at the catchment, you will see the differences in housing price.
Yeah.
So you will see two similar houses are not sold the same price. Yeah. So what we did is we went to New South Wales where housing boom is there. So and then we did that proper sampling. It was satellite data, and then we quantified the premium. And the premium was nearly somewhere 5 to 6%. So you have to pay to be in the right side of the school, the high-performing school. Yeah.
I happen to have a house that's made by a very common builder, and the builder works in New South Wales as well as here in South Australia. And the relevance of that is that the house that I'm in Adelaide is worth one price, which is like a third of the price of the same house in New South Wales.
Yeah, true.
Which seems, in my mind at least, crazy.
Crazy. And then even within New South Wales, you look at the high-performing, for example, public school, and the lower performing public school, they are side by side. You go to the frontier, like this catchment, and you see just the difference. We actually, in the paper we published in the good journal, like the international journal. So we actually zoomed 2 houses in New South Wales that were separated, like same characteristic. And you know the difference in prices? 30K.
I beg your pardon?
Yeah, 30K. It is like the road is there, and then one here, similar characteristic. And the one in the best side of the high-performing school was actually 30K more than the lower performing. But they are similar, living in the same environment. Yeah.
It actually sounds really fascinating.
It
like
is fascinating.
When I was in school, I never would have thought that a vocation like yours would be as interesting, would be as fascinating, would be as involved, would be as multifaceted. Just incredible.
Yeah, but you look at, you see, the first part of that interview, like that discussion, has been kind of hard, right? Because I was struggling to explain to you actually. So to do that, to be able to quantify that premium, I actually have to use really high level of mathematics, like modeling. So that is why we start discussing about GMM inference, bootstrapping, all that stuff. But at the end, because when I do that, I have the theoretical model, and I go through the data, and then I can convince people that this is just good. So this is the best you can do. Yeah, but it has to go.
I have a lot more questions now than I originally did, but let's finish on your bio. Okay, hang on a second. I lost my place. There we go. You've published a wide range of articles on these topics that you have mentioned and now explained, and you're the leading investigator of 2 Australian Research Council ARC grant projects. The first on selection of mixed strength moment restrictions, and optimal inference.
Yeah.
Can you put that into English?
Yeah, I have. Interesting, David. Let me just take a simple example.
Yes, please.
Of the current situation of the economy.
Yes.
So you are aware of the cash rate that the federal.
It's killing us.
Yes,
it absolutely is killing us.
And I know it is killing your audience, everyone. Yeah. So that is what we call monetary policy.
Yes.
So the problem we have actually is inflation is high.
Yes.
And then the government think that they can actually do monetary policy, which is like shocking actually interest rate, because the theory said, economic theory said, inflation and interest rates are going opposite direction. So
yes.
if inflation is high, you start to increase interest rate, inflation will come down. So that is the problem. The problem is, which is the correct model you do? So it turns out that the economy is weak. So the shocks you put, interest rate doesn't act straightforward, which is the problem we have now. So the theory, we should have stopped somewhere doing monetary policy shocks. But we are still shocking the economy, and then we don't see how inflation is coming down. So we shock more the economy than needed, actually. So because the connection between interest rate and inflation is weak. So what I'm doing, what the complexity of the sentence you called it, is actually to help policymakers that don't do that, because it is not the solution straightforward that you have. So because there is a weak connection. So what I can provide is a selection of instruments you can actually eat for you to be able to make inflation down, to bring inflation down. So, but to be honest, we are not yet there. Yeah, but it is because the US is doing that, right? That everyone else has to do. I don't think Australia has to be eating the economy with a cash rate, increasing cash rate, because housing market is highly connected with interest rate in Australia. In the US, after the 2007 financial crisis, they put instruments such that the housing market is not highly affected by a monetary policy, like the increasing interest rate. So they do monetary policy, it is okay, but when we do here, it is not. Yeah. So that is, yeah. I'm just providing statistical measure how you do it simply. So you will need really a lot. They are not doing that. Yeah. But I'm not the only economist who knows that the Reserve Bank is just a dark box.
So why, if there's no necessity or requirement to put the money rate up as high as it is, why are they doing it?
Not that because the theory said, you can still see that at one point it will come down. The problem is the cost you pay. So if you are in the economy where the housing is not very, very related to cash rate, that is okay. But in Australia, so every single time they increase the cash rate, the same second, the big banks are passing on that increase on customers. Yeah. So which is the problem? Yeah. So in the US, it is not like that. It is different.
You've really got me fascinated as a homeowner myself, and I think that a large portion, around half, maybe a little bit less, of the viewers who are watching right now or will be watching as part of the archives, they would like to understand: is the cash rate going to keep going up? Is inflation going to keep rising? Are we in for 6%, 7%? What's your estimate? What's your assessment?
I think they are not there yet because we haven't seen a turn back from the inflation is still there going up. So the inflation needs to be at the peak at one time, and then at the peak it can come down. But honestly, if you look at the U.S. economy, they are starting to come. They are down and they stop. Last time the announcement was, okay, now monetary policy is there, so we cannot increase anymore. We pause for now. Yeah.
Have you modeled this working for somebody else? Like, as in, has somebody been paying you to model this?
No,
or
it is just my academic research with my students. We do all that stuff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So in your opinion, in your very educated opinion, do you believe that at what point in the next 3 months, in the next 6 months, are interest rates, is the cash rate going to go down in your assessment?
No, I think that it will be less than 6 months, because the pressure people are feeling right now, and the political pressure also, because it is more the pools, So, and then everyone is starting to feel it. So I think they will identify a solution. Probably they will stop. I don't think they are going to be increasing the cash rate for indefinitely. Yeah. We can't. Yeah. Yeah.
I could easily make the rest of the podcast about just this, but I'm very fascinated to understand more of your background and your research. Let me just sum up everything else, because I could easily spend another 20 minutes just on going through your extensive background. Some of the people that you've worked with are Professor Prosper Dovanon, I beg your pardon, at Concordia University in Canada. Another person that you've been working closely with are Professors Donald Poskett at Monash University, and I have no idea how to say this. Is it Zhuyan Zhao?
Yeah, Xuan.
Yeah. I'm not even close. My apologies, Professor. I really apologize. No disrespect was intended. Over at Monash University, Eric Renaud at the University of Warwick in the UK, and Frank Windemeyer, is that roughly correct? At the University of Oxford. So you're really dealing with some prestigious people, world-class people. True. Would you say that your research is world-class?
Yes, too. My research is, and that has been my childhood. I'm really doing what I want to do, and I'm in the country where I want to do. I immigrated in the country where I want to stay, so I'm really happy. Yeah, because I switched from mathematics to that statistics, and when I was doing statistics, it was still theoretical statistics. So when I started my PhD thesis in Canada, and that is where I discovered really that you can actually do statistics that is serving people. You can do statistics where you make your place. So, and that is so I publish in the best journals of my field internationally. So yeah.
You have no idea how much your face is glowing right now talking about this. They say that if you never want to work a day in your life, find something that you're insanely passionate about, and you'll never work a day in your life. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, that is true. It is so true. Yeah. Right now, I'm so excited because that is why I bring that. I'm actually bring that in the machine learning territory. Yeah.
All right. Now you've done it. Now you've done it. Let's go through your background. Start us off. When did you realize that you wanted to get involved in this level of academia? Did you always think that one day I'm going to be a professor, I'm going to be teaching in the best schools? Take us back to high school, roughly high school.
Year 9. Year 9.
Year 9 is when you realized.
Year 9, yeah. No, I did Olympic championship in mathematics, even when I was in Benin. Yeah. So in my cohort, we do. So I really wanted to do. I want to be a professor at the University of Mathematics. It wasn't even statistics or econometrics. So yeah. So when I finished year 12, I went to math. So I did math and I did a master in mathematics. So when I finished my master in mathematics, I started to look at statistics. Right? So, and why? Because I'm French speaker, and France has high school in West Africa, in Ivory Coast, and it is an entrance exam. So I look at that one, and I look at that. These guys doing that math, and they are statisticians. They are paid more than a math professor at the uni. So I have a friend, we decided to take that exam. So we took the exam. My friend, he came to France to do computing he's more computing guy. But I went to Ivory Coast for statistics. So 3 years, that is where my life changed. And then I discovered, I said, okay, right. So there is now a path to a PhD that is worth of people appreciating what you do. I like mathematics, but in a developed country like Australia, you do mathematics, people know what it means. But for underdeveloped countries, mathematics is still at the theoretical level, right? So it is not really at the service of people. It is more teaching, explaining all that stuff, yeah. But now, here I am. So doing the stuff I like, and yeah.
Okay, so you've finished high school. You were in Kenya.
Benin.
Oh, I beg your pardon, Benin.
Yeah.
Okay, so were there universities in Benin
yes.
that you were able to start? Is there like what's the word I'm looking for when you're a student and you're were you doing your doctoral degree in that country?
In Benin, like I did my master in mathematics in Benin. So to be honest, it's so great because. But like applied science stuff is more not developed in that countries at that time. But mathematics is universal. So I did my mathematics, and since that one, and I did statistics in Ivory Coast. That is like a developing country, to all in West Africa. So I haven't done any more theoretical study where I can say, because before I finished that, it was like that the end.
So did you get scholarships to leave Africa and to go to other countries?
Ivory Coast was the entrance exam, then the exam is by European Union. So I was ranked first for the exam. And then I got the European Union scholarship. I remember that 2001. Yeah, the day I opened the letter, I remember that one. Because I know it is a life-changing stuff. I should be somewhere in Benin, random. By the way, my mother and my dad, they pass away now. But they have never been at school at all. So I'm the first one to go at school. So it is really random.
That's like my wife. There's no one in her family who's ever been to university, and she was the very first. And not only that, she's the very first to graduate, because another member of the family, a cousin, followed her to university to do their own thing, but they decided it was too hard, so they dropped out. So not only is she the first to go to uni, but she's also the first to graduate, and she was averaging distinctions and high distinctions. So maybe not as high marks as you, though.
No, it is maybe better than that. Yeah, true. Yeah. So that exam, yeah, I went there and I have a scholarship, European Union scholarship, 3 years. And then when I finished also, I finished top of my course. And then I applied for the PhD in Canada. So, and then they gave me a scholarship too. So that is, I went there studying 5 years, scholarship, everything. And I finished my PhD.
Okay, so now you have your doctorate.
Yes.
And you're no longer Mr. Now you're Doctor.
Yes.
What happened then?
So what happened then? I'm a family guy. I have 3 kids, but my first, she's now 21. So she just graduated with a Bachelor of Health Science.
Congratulations!
She's doing honors, and she just didn't like Canada anymore. And then we say, oh, why not try? So I was lucky. I got the first job at the University of Tasmania.
I've had the privilege of visiting Tasmania,
yeah.
And I went on the Spirit of Tasmania, and we got off in Devonport,
yeah.
And then went all the way down the east coast. It was an extraordinary trip,
yeah.
And I stayed in a place called Garden Island Creek, which is an hour and a half away from. Oh, you know Garden Island Creek?
True. I know.
Oh,
yeah.
and
I lived there 3 years and a half. So yeah.
I love Tasmania. my wife says, no, it's too cold. We can't live in Tasmania. But that's probably the only reason I don't live in Tasmania.
So our experience with my family is interesting because we left Montreal. Montreal was around 4 million and more people. And then we came to Oba, which was 500. So it was nice. That has been the best years, like, because I'm a village guy, you know. And then, yeah, it is quiet, and but you can find your place everywhere. So it was a good moment there. Yeah.
Okay, so now you find yourself in Adelaide. You're now in Adelaide. Your beautiful family is in Adelaide as well.
Yes.
All of them?
Yeah. We are my wife and my 3 kids, 2 daughters and a boy. So my daughter, the first I explained you where she is. She graduated from Bachelor of Health Science. She's doing honors, and the second is year 9 at St. Peter's girls' school. So she's smart. She's doing math also. She's doing sciences. Well, she plays netball. And I love netball. I learned netball. my boy is at a Christian Brother College, CBC. He's year 8, yeah. So he is athlete. So he's sometimes in the state team for athletics. So he's running well. So and he's playing footy. He's like loves footy, but he's really in the athletics path.
When you say footy, you mean the AFL?
AFL, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm umpiring like every.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I do boundary umpire for my team. We are Glenonga Rams. So he's playing this. That is his second year. Start playing with him.
Before I got especially fat, I used to be fit, believe it or not. I was a referee or umpire for Football Federation SA. So soccer, I suppose some people would refer to it as.
Yeah.
But amazing when you get involved in sport, especially with your kids.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Myself, I play soccer. Even when I was in Canada, I was playing a League 2 soccer. Professional. So.
Okay, you got to be careful. I've got my yellow card and I've got my red card, and I'm not afraid to show them. It is a beautiful life. So tell me, you're in Adelaide, and is this the dream? Do you have your eyes on somewhere else? Is there somewhere else that you're thinking next? I want to go here, or is Adelaide the place that you want to build your family?
For now, I think I don't have a place to go, because I'm loving everything. But as you can see, I'm always traveling for conferences, because, you know, my field is research. And then at the university, if you are lucky and you have that prestige where you have grants all that. You can go everywhere for conferences where you want and still be living in a lovely city like Adelaide. Yeah. So that is my plan for the next 10 years is just focus here, build the stuff. I'm building actually a cohort for more machine learning, economics and machine learning at my school. So I'm starting, I have young guys we hire, and then I will build that team. Yeah, just complement.
It's so exciting because, as you know, much better than I would, that machine learning is cutting edge. Yeah. It's the way the whole world is going. Now, just out of curiosity, because you're so passionate about this, people like Elon Musk are warning us about artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Do you think that there's anything to be not afraid of, but concerned about?
Yeah, there is things to be concerned about, because I will give you some example. So what that algorithm are doing is take economic side. You know, economics is a complex word, for example. So you have data coming from everywhere. So it is a big data. So what these algorithms are doing is to go in that data set, navigate, aggregate, send you the quantities you want, for example, correlation between X. Okay, go do that policy or do that policy. Actually, it is noisy. So it is noisy. So no way. So you will need actually to take that noises out before you can actually quantify your policy, all that stuff. But people are not doing that because the algorithm is there on the internet. You go, you click, and then you have that one. So this is not working. In economics, for example, the machine learning, brute machine learning product that you cut, they are too noisy. So you need to take that noise out. It is the same even in pure sciences too. So I have my colleagues doing mathematics, right? They are interested in that causal algorithm because everyone knows, yeah, that is. And in fact, if you look at the more natural intelligence sides, like our kids, so should kids at high school use machine learning algorithm? That is the question actually people have. Yeah.
What's the concern safety-wise when it comes to machine learning? Because it's my understanding that's what Elon's concern is, that at its rate of development, without policing, without strict guidelines, the concern is that artificial intelligence is going to be smarter than what we are. And indeed, even I know that there are some instances where AI has basically started conversations on networks, and the people who've originally programmed it have very quickly realized that because the AI has recognized that it's being listened to and watched and paid attention to, has created its own language. So is that the concern?
Yeah, it is a concern, right? There are two levels of concerns. The first level where our kids, for example, we never do math like we do, like even summing two things, because they have machine to do that one. So machine, we are replacing really that task, right? But the next level also is the word thing that machine can do. Because no matter what you do, somebody programmed that algorithm, right? Dave. Yeah. So we never act like a human person. We never. So now the question is, at which level you want the machine to help? This is good if it is policed, right? If it is guided. So, but that is the worry people have. Yeah.
So many things. As we're talking, I'm realizing there's so many more things that I actually want to ask you and that I want to understand, but unfortunately we only have an hour. There are some podcasts, like Joe Rogan is infamous for 3 or 4 hour podcasts. Lex Friedman is another one who does at least 2 hours, but I try really hard to value people's, you have a family, I have a family, I'm pretty sure you don't want to spend, where are you all night? Well, my new friend David kept me up until 2 in the morning.
It's okay. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you became an Australian, I think you said 10 years ago?
2016. No, 7 years ago. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
I became an Australian on Australia Day. Did you also become an Australian on Australia Day?
Just before. So you beat me on that.
You know, that was one of the most outrageous experiences of my life. Was it as good for you as it was for me?
For me, it was that I think I always have that good experience. Maybe people say, "Oh man, this guy is coming from like it's nowhere." So my experience was great actually. So I was sitting in my office here, and then when we turned like the 4 years after the permanent residency, and then I applied, and a couple of weeks later I have the letter. So I passed my test. Then the next day they sent me the letter, and that is it. I was in Burnside, a nice ceremony, and it was the best experience. For my Canadian citizenship, I went through nearly 3 years to get it. Yeah.
So how many citizenships do you have?
Three.
Yes. Aren't you a bit greedy?
Well, I'm Beninese by birth, and so immigrated in Canada 10 years, and then in Australia nearly 13 years now. So
awesome.
I think that is my last one.
So you're doing you're doing world-leading research right now. What you're about to go into machine learning, which is an aspect of artificial intelligence. What's next?
Who is it? Do better in machine learning first, because the task there is immense, because all the economics is digital economics, right? So, and as I said, people who are taking economic indicators are not building the models, but traditional models doesn't work on that. So, it is a challenge. So we are just switching on. So I think, so the next 3 years will be a challenge, and is something interesting.
Professor, if I had a magic wand and I could wave it and you could be studying, or you could be teaching, or you could be whatever you want, what would that look like?
Well, teaching is, at the end of the day, like my research is when I convey my teaching. Yeah. So like that. My students, I'm always telling them, right? So we go through, I will show the theoretical stuff, but I will come to the data too. But it is because I'm a statistician too. So I learn how to read data. So when I do models, I know how they can calibrate to the data. Yeah.
Is there anybody in the world that you really would like to work with that hasn't yet given you the opportunity to work with them?
Right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. They are.
The people that you wanted to work with are already working with you. Is that what you said?
Yes. Because in general, it is more like the research path, really. Yeah. And then it is more from your PhD to how you grow and that now. Yeah. So.
Okay. Is there anyone that you haven't yet worked with that you really want to work with that you haven't had a chance to work with yet?
No.
No.
No. For now, no.
So basically you've climbed Everest, you've gone to the South Pole, in your field I mean, I don't mean literally, but basically you're at the pinnacle. You're at the peak. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm at the peak. But you still learn, you know. You are still learning. You are still facing challenges. But you are not at the need to be running. But I'm actually at the level where I want to create stuff where people can use. I want to have a mentorship to young guys by myself, like people did for me. Yeah. So, yeah.
Any intention of writing a book or anything like that?
The book, I like to participate in book chapters sometimes. So writing a book, I don't have a plan now, but I'm not taking it out because writing a book is taking a lot of time in general. Yeah. So if you are, I think people always say, okay, you are professors, and then when you are closing your retirement, and then you start writing books. But in economics, it is more like that. In other fields, it is valuable to have books. In economics, books are not valued like sciences and other fields. Yeah. So I contribute to interesting chapters, like if there are topics, and I do, for example, financial inclusion. I contributed to a book with, 2 years ago where I did financial inclusion in the Asia and developing Africa. Yeah,
I can't ever remember talking to somebody about a topic that I didn't understand at all, not even a little bit. And then by the end of a very brief hour, I have at least an idea.
What we are doing.
Well, yeah, and not only that, the way that you've described it has made it so appealing.
Thank you.
That do you have to be a student of the Adelaide University to be able to attend one of your lectures? If somebody wanted to, just as a once-off, I mean, obviously they couldn't come every week, but are they allowed to come in on a once-off basis and just sit in the back?
Well, in general, access is allowed by the university. So if, for example, if you are saying, oh, I want to do that, yeah, I think it will be at the university level to decide. But in general, they will not get you access to our teaching if you are not a student. Yeah.
Well, that's not fair.
But they allow me, for example, to do that type of conversation where it is more the contribution, intellectual contribution to the community. So
Professor Jordan Peterson is now touring the world, has a podcast, has the ability, if you pay X amount of dollars, to be able to get access to all of his materials. Have you considered doing something similar to this?
For now, you know the difference, right? Because he has retired and he's more working independently. So but I'm paid by the university. So in my contract, I can teach at the university and I can go give community service, but I cannot be teaching independently and earning money for that. Yeah.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
No, I think it is good because look at one point I will be there, I can retire and then I can do that. But I think for the university, it is more intellectual property protection too.
Sure. Now, we've only got seconds left because I made a commitment to you that we were only going to do 1 hour and not 10 hours or 20 hours or 3 weeks. Is there anything that you would like to talk about that I haven't given you a chance because I wasn't smart enough to know the right question to ask?
No, David, I think we talk about it. You are too smart for me.
I think your nose just grew then.
No, you are too smart.
No, is there anything that you'd like to talk about that I haven't given you the opportunity to yet?
No, I think we went through the cross-section of topics. I think I didn't do a good job at the starting explaining everything, but I think we went through all that stuff. It is good. Probably I think I will be more prepared next time to.
Well, you know what? I'm very open to sometime down the track, especially when you start kicking some huge goals in machine learning.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in catching up with you again.
True.
And you know what? If you said to me, come over to my place for dinner, I'd say yes.
Oh, good. I do that.
Professor, thank you so much for the
you,
privilege of interviewing you. If you have enjoyed, is there a social media that you allow people to have that if they want to get in contact with you, maybe they want to ask some questions, but they haven't had a chance? How do they get in contact with you?
I have my LinkedIn webpage. They can contact
in the university's bio?
Yeah. So and they can contact me through my email. So. And I have a Facebook too. So I think I can give that.
Fantastic. Well, on that note, I think we're going to end.